everyone, I'm back. Nicole from Chiromax here. I have another video for you this week. This week we're talking about how to get more people to read your emails. So the last, 3, maybe 4 weeks, we've been doing a bunch of different videos about really great content. For instance, we talked about email marketing by the numbers last week. And in that, I talked about the number of emails that are sent per day, and it's in the billions. And I also talked, I think it was somewhere around like 127 emails that the average desk worker gets a day. So that's a lot of emails, and that likely means that that average office worker isn't reading all those emails. So how do you make sure that your email is one that is actually read? Out of those 120 plus emails, make sure that yours is read with these tips. Okay, let's go into it starting now. First of all, consistent frequency is key. I'm talking about a number of different things here, actually 2 specific things. So 1, whatever consistency you start with, whether it's I'm going to send 1 newsletter a month or I'm going to send 1 every other week, do that. Continue doing that. And then secondly, stick to your schedule is what I have written here. What I mean by that is if you promise that you would send 1 email a month, don't send more than that, because essentially you're lying to your subscribers and they'll be annoyed by it. They signed up for your newsletter list because of the amount of emails that you said you would send. So keep doing that. Secondly, specific subject lines. The subject line is the very first thing that your subscriber will read. So make sure that you're specific about what your subject is about. It's been found through studies that specificity leads to more opens. So the last piece too I have here is from a personal address. So think about when you get an email. It says the subject, which hopefully is a specific subject line, just like we just talked about. But then the from address always pops up. So instead of using something like info@chiromax.com, I would use Nicole@chiromax.com, because it's coming from me, from a real person, and is therefore more personalized and makes someone want to open that email, makes it more likely that they will open that email. Thirdly, send at the right time. What is the right time? That's the follow-up question to that, right? The thing is, it's different for everyone. Your audience is going to be different than our audience here at Chiromax. So what you need to do is test to find out. So send your email at varying different days and at various different times within those days, and figure out what gets you the highest open rate. And then figure out which gets the highest click rate, because then you know your audience at that time of day, on that day, is not only opening your emails, but that they're engaged with your emails. Next up, be brief. People don't want to read super long emails. So a good way to ensure that you're getting your point across very quickly is to use bullet points. Bullet points make it easy for someone to open your email, scan what it says, and get the highlights right away. Another important tip here is short paragraphs. So because so many people are opening on mobile, your paragraphs are going to look longer than they do on desktop anyway. So make sure you've broken your content into small chunks so that, again, someone can scan and figure out what you're talking about in your email very quickly. Let's move to this side. This side, this point here, is all referring to content, to the type of content. So my first point is be conversational. And I want you to apply that to all these sub-points underneath it. What I mean by conversational is write your emails like you're talking to someone, so that it doesn't come across as too stiff or stilted. And the more friendly your email, the more likely that people will read it and continue reading it. So as you're being conversational, here's a couple additional tips. Use sensory words. So try to use words that invoke a feeling, an emotion. because when an email has an emotional draw, people are more likely to read it. Also, be conversational as you relay timely information. So if you put a timestamp on it, talk about something that applies to right now, it's less likely that that email is going to get pushed to the bottom of the inbox because they'll want to read it right now since it won't apply in 2 or 3 weeks. Also, try to relay useful and necessary information. This goes back to providing value. This last one too is helpful and relevant information. So every time that you send an email, make sure that the content itself fits into one of these buckets, whether it's useful, whether it's necessary, whether it's helpful, whether it's relevant, because all of those pieces tell your reader that you're not just sending them fluff pieces, sending them emails for the sake of sending them emails, that you are relaying important information that they should be reading. And if you continue to do that every time, you will train your audience that this email should be opened because there's always good information in it. Okay, next piece, be actionable. So this also relates to content, but in a slightly different way. Always in your emails, you want to have a call to action. You want to be telling them what they should be doing next. Okay, great, I have this email, what should I do with it now? Whether that's a click to call, whether that's a make an appointment here, whether that's just read our recent blog. Those are all call to actions. So make sure that your audience knows exactly what you want. Don't be vague about the action item you want them to complete. Come right out and say it because they're more likely to do it or not do it, but at least there's no gray area. They know exactly what you want. This is an important point, but a small one. I won't spend much time on it. Proofread. Make sure there's no typos. If the first email that someone receives has a typo in the subject line, they're going to be less likely to read that email because you've lowered your credibility. You look less professional and you don't want to do that. Make sure you proofread. Lastly, and I put this one as last because you have to use this tip sparingly. So if you can offer a reward or benefit for quick action, for instance, if your call to action is like take this survey or leave us a review, put a reward or benefit behind it as long as that person takes that action quickly. So you don't want them to leave you a review in 2 months, you want them to really leave a review now. The reason you can't do this too much is because it can come across as spammy if you do it too often, and especially if your reward or benefit isn't even that much of a reward or benefit. So make sure it is actually going to benefit them in some way, and think about what kind of reward your audience really wants to receive. But if you can do those kind of emails every once in a while, that helps out your open rate for all your other emails because your readers know that eventually you're going to send them some pretty good offers. That's a lot of tips. There are even more, and I have a list going that I'm happy to share with you. So give us a call, find our number at chiromox.com. We're happy to talk more about it. Otherwise, stay tuned. We'll be back in another week. See you then. Bye.